Can we get good results with fast orthodontic treatment? And at what point does your patient force you to remove the braces and to get him into the retention phase? He's Ash, a successful real estate agent and martial art expert, but he's not happy about his smile. And I can tell the reason why. The usual intraoral photographs show us a fierce upper crowding, and in the lower jaw the business is even more serious. Thank God we have a bilateral dental first class, but the real enemy, the patient's chief complaint, is the crossbite of 33, the vampire tooth as Ash calls it. Orthopentomography shows us a mild root dysparallelism, sign of dental crowding. The 48 is in partial bone inclusion, but neither of us is worried about that. And the teleradiography doesn't tell us anything more than we already knew when Ash first entered our practice. His face proportions are absolutely normal. Ash is clear with me. He tells me he has no time. And most of all, he entered my practice just because he couldn't cope with the vampire tooth anymore. He keeps on hating dentists, and despite the mutual empathy, he'd love to see me as little as possible. And of course, he's not gonna consider any kind of braces. Well, we have some options, and Invisalign is one of them. The ClinCheck is the real problem, the real obstacle that can make Invisalign your best friend or your worst nightmare. Planning it correctly really makes all the difference in not having any kind of problems later on. In order to solve inferior crowding, we decided to extract 32, not because it's the most periodontally compromised tooth, but because if you look well, it's the only one whose extraction will leave space for 33 to retract into the arch. Of course, posterior teeth do not need to be moved. In the front teeth, compared with the original treatment plan, I've only added vertical attachments for the incisors, because those teeth will have a long way to go and I do not want to lose them on the way. I've also added 0.2 millimeters of interproximal reduction between 31 and 41, which would be absolutely useless if it weren't for the fact that it could help me to decrease the black triangle I presume will show up on that papilla. I plan to solve upper crowding with interproximal reduction and incisal proclination, which will help me with the goal of correcting the crossbite. I also plan some lateral expansion, both to gain some space and to enlarge the patient's smile. In the lower arch, there is no need of doing any IPR. The crowding has already been fully absorbed by the extraction. In 5 months, the crowding has been almost completely wiped out and the crossbite has been solved. It's important to periodically check the fit of the aligners. In these cases, in which we use the weekly aligner change protocol, we would need to verify that dental movement matches with ClinCheck. Great help here was given by the fact that the patient's clinical crowns were elongated. The longer they are, the more the aligner can express its elastic forces. At this point, my doubt was whether the great mobility of 31 would stop or not. The mobility, induced by occlusal trauma, gingival inflammation, and most of all by the great orthodontic movement, vanished as soon as 31 reached its place and achieved strong interproximal contacts with 33 and 41. At 8 months and 26 aligners, plus 2 aligners of virtual power chain hypercorrection, Ash is very satisfied with the outcome, both for the resolution of the crossbite and for the fact that it just took a few months. He doesn't even note that the lower cuspid torque is incorrect, neither he notices the central incisor's wrong tip. He just tells me he can sense a small difference on the surface of the 2 upper central incisors while touching them with his fingers. I explain him, there's no need to worry, he can just take new impressions and have a 3-month refinement to get rid of all imperfection. At that precise point, Ash gets up, looks at me straight in the eyes and tells me, I changed my mind. My teeth are just perfect.